Okay, welcome everybody to the fourth Vegan Collective Intelligence meeting. My name's Benjamin. I am hosting here today instead of Jamin. He's traveling. I believe he's going down to Southern California for a Sierra Club dinner, which he is organizing around the idea of solar radiation management and veganism and anyway,
global warming in general.
Global warming in general.
Fixing it.
Yeah. So we're here, hopefully able to take its place and keep this meeting. I have no doubt that we'll be able to keep this meeting going. But only a few agenda items that we kind of came up with before we start.
We sent them out in the email. It would be to go over the survey and kind of how the groups are looking and how we want to work on integrating the Basecamp groups with this meeting. And then just agendas in general, what we want our meetings to look like. Carrie already brought up how to plug in a friend to here specifically. So any other agenda items for today too.
An overview of collective intelligence and SRM would be good. Tati's just signed on. She's just about a few hours old on Basecamp.
Awesome.
She's a fierce Toronto activist.
Awesome. Welcome.
But I'm kind of starting from scratch myself, so I'd like to hear the official description of these.
Yeah.
Officially, I don't know if any of us have the official description. I think we're all kind of making it, really.
So, yeah, I'll do my...
Jamin would definitely have a description of collective intelligence.
Absolutely. The way that I think about it is, in its most simplest terms, is a group of people getting together, a group of semi-intelligent people getting together, talking to each other, and then another group getting together of very intelligent people who aren't talking to each other. Which group do you think is going to be able to come up with solutions and be able to make progress faster than the other? It's going to be the group that's talking to each other. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what level of intelligence we are. The idea is to come together and as a group create another level of intelligence that is only possible when people are talking to each other. And this meeting in particular is using that idea, the idea of collective intelligence, and applying it to veganism. And it all has kind of stemmed from the Vegan World 2026 conference that I attended and met Jamin at. We kind of hit it off, and I immediately saw kind of an opportunity for us to use this as a platform, a tool for us to communicate and create safe spaces for conversations where we can get into these like super detailed, deep stuff regarding the transformation that's going to take place towards a vegan world. So far what we've kind of accomplished in this group is we've created kind of a taxonomy of you're going to have to help me out here, Suzanne. Or Ray, you can kind of jump in here. I don't know if I did a good job explaining what collective intelligence is.
Yeah, we can open it up to other people.
Well, I'm just a baby. I'm learning myself. But collective intelligence are words that fitted together have a kind of a legacy. This is something that certain people are tapped into this kind of thinking. I know that just a couple of weeks ago I met Jean-Francois, who runs the I was going to say Ahimsa Coin, the Aquarius currency, and he identifies with collective intelligence as well. So I don't know if it's all the same animal or if there's like different interpretations of it, but it sounds like a basic concept that I think you did a good job of explaining it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's using the same idea, and he's been coming at it from a different perspective for a long time.
But I do think the same idea, different perspective. I don't know. I think it's very similar perspectives, maybe. But Jamin specifically has a website if you'd like to check it out, Taddy. It's radish.org. And then he can, then it's in his own words too.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of videos there that help get a sense of what he's talking about.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Do we want to do introductions since we have a new member here?
Yeah, we could do a brief intro for those of us who've already been here, and then Patty, if you want to introduce yourself too, that'd be wonderful.
Okay, so you want me to start? Okay, so I've been pretty much very involved with animal activism for about 3 years, and I started part-time, let's say 4 years ago, and it was with the SAVE movement. I'm not sure if everyone is familiar with the SAVE movement here, but basically, yes, Toronto Pig SAVE shirt there. Yeah, we bear witness to animals arriving to slaughter, pretty much is one of the main activities. And I've had a huge opportunity, and very grateful to have traveled throughout Latin America with the SAVE movement, starting new groups and visiting and doing a lot of investigations in slaughterhouses and other places. And well, I won't go on for too long, but just wanted to say that right now I'm in Brazil, and I think that for the past year or so, I've been telling others that I was taking a break from activism, but it's something that some people laugh at me because they're like, you're doing more activism than some of us combined. And I think that at this point in my life, I'm trying to figure out exactly where I'm going to go from here. And when Ray sent me that message, I was really happy because I always saw Vegan World 2026 and Climate Healers as a really cool project. So I'm really, really happy to be a part of this group now, and hopefully we can do great things together. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's
Welcome.
Awesome. Yeah. Sure. I'm Suzanne. Taddy, it's really nice to meet you. It's nice to see everyone else and Anne. I don't really know what to say.
Just a quick update.
Quick update. Oh, I guess I'll mention, I haven't spoken about this before. The last few years, I've been working on like a book project that I didn't really know why I started. I read The World Peace Diet, and that's what inspired me to go vegan. And then I started working on this book that is like very much inspired by that book. It's like a condensed version of it, I guess, with some illustrations too. And I've never met Will Tuttle, but I just got confirmation from the printer that my first edition has been printed, and I plan to send it to him. And I don't know what's going to happen with it, but yeah, so that's my update.
So
That's awesome.
This is Ann Mitchell, and I also read The World Peace Diet, and I did the World Peace Diet Facilitator Training Series with Will, and he's really phenomenal. And I'm guessing that he will adore your book. I can't wait to see your book because that's really cool. There's also a book that a woman from Cincinnati did called Yoga for World Peace, or the World Peace Yoga book, which is something to check out for people on this particular site. or this particular group. So I just needed to jump in and say that, because the World Peace Diet also had a huge impact on me. Well, has a huge impact on me. And I'm really happy to hear that you did another book. Very cool, Suzanne. Very.
I feel I have to contribute. I listened to Will Tuttle on audiobook, and he read it himself. Don't listen to it while operating a motor vehicle. His voice is way too soothing. But then I had to buy the hard copy because you can't take notes with an audiobook. You know, you're just like, oh, he said something, and you're not going to find it in an audiobook. So you have to immediately go and buy the hard copy.
So this is a paraphrase because I don't remember the exact quote, but at some point in the book, like halfway through, he says, you know, we can pour our hearts and souls into solving our social justice issues. But until we deal with the issues of animal agriculture and what we have done to the animals, we don't have a chance of solving our social justice issues. I should go find the book and find the actual quote. But that really, really spoke to me because I've spent my entire adult life working on social justice issues. And that felt like one of the biggest truths I had ever heard. That, okay, there's this underlying fundamental issue. And until we deal with that, we can't deal with the rest of it.
Thank you, Anne. I haven't read the book, but I wrote it down and I'm excited about it. So I too am an activist. I was a political activist since 2016 in my community here, working on various campaigns, which then opened the door to get independent contract with Northern Arizona Climate Change Alliance starting this year, which is nonpartisan, which has been great for me. I'm in an extremely conservative community, and I'm part of the marginalized community. So now I am feeling very inspired to be doing this work. And so I've had countless presentations on climate change and the causes and the blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, when Dr. Rao spoke, I was like, what? Well, I was vegetarian at the time. Then when I saw him speak the first time, then I said, we're leaning vegan. I saw him talk for the second time. I'm like, never mind, we're all in. So then I went to the conference, and everybody just thinks I'm like gone a little bit crazy because I never just do anything just like a little bit, like my mom, for instance. But so I'm caught in, and then with 2020 coming up, obviously there's going to be a lot of political activism going on. So I'm trying to figure out. So we're going to be all about solutions with Northern Arizona Climate Change Alliance, which is great. So I'm all about animal agriculture. So I get to lead the whole organization on this side of the state, Northern Arizona. And I'm really going to be pushing that agenda. Thank you. And then I had lunch with a friend of mine. And so I'm also very interested in getting people elected that will protect our environment here in Arizona. It's a hot mess of crazy. So it's going to be a wild battleground state. And it's kind of like our last election before we're completely lost hope. So when Mississippi has more hope than your state, then, you get a little worried. So I'm going to start a Facebook group called Progressive Environmental Policy in Action. And so I'm going to be doing, because everybody knows who I am and what party I stand for. And so I'm completely marginalized. So I want to start working in the middle and trying to talk to everybody when it comes to animal agriculture and environmental everything. So, I get really frustrated. I think you were saying that, Sarah, is like the whole working in a vacuum and showing pictures of food and then just eating and then just talking amongst ourselves. And so I have that politically as well here. Like, it's almost like they don't even want to be different than marginalized. It's really weird. So because it is hard to step out there and, open up a conversation with somebody that is not like-minded, and you're afraid that they're going to be, yell at you or whatever. It is hard to be an activist that's boots on the ground. So that's what I'm going to be trying to do for animal agriculture, veganism, once I kind of figure out what we're doing as far as a group, and how I can bring more people to this, and then, it'll help my work personally and professionally. That's me, my little hometown, Prescott, Arizona.
Thank you, Carrie.
I'm Ray Kowalchuk. I live in Toronto, and Sailesh has graciously asked me to manage his base camp, which I've been presenting to everybody as an online think tank with a bunch of different categories that we've had the conferences, and I can't say we because I didn't attend the conferences, but at the conferences, 202 questions were formed to determine what sort of obstacles we need to get past in order to get our Vegan World 2026. So those have been sorted into different groups, and I'm going to try to get those groups motivated to solve these 202 questions. And I'm working remotely from Toronto, and Sailesh, 4 years ago, I invited him to come to Toronto, and he came, and he's been back 4 other times. And so he's kind of become a pillar of our community without actually having lived here.
That's fantastic. My name is Benjamin. I've kind of been working with Suzanne here on getting this survey done, on kind of coming up with, I guess we've also been working in the vegan collective intelligence stuff with Jamin.
And his other stuff too, and trying to figure out how Jamin's vision for SRM and the message of Vegan World 2026 can reinforce each other, because I do think there's a good story to tell there.
And I am super excited about this group getting together and coming up with all sorts of great ideas for how we organize conversations around the other groups that are forming within the Vegan World 2026. Because I think it's really important that we try to bring the leaders or whoever is kind of taking charge of those other groups and bring them in with the leaders, bring them all together and start having conversations where we can synthesize what we've been learning and kind of try to learn from each other in terms of how we can all be effective in all of this, because it can be really daunting, especially with how many groups there are and how many things we could be participating in. I just see this as a great space to start. And thank you for joining us. Has everybody given a quick update? I think that's everybody. So if we want to move on to our first agenda item. Hey, Dharmendra.
Hey, what's up?
How are you doing? We're just getting through intros. If you want to give a quick update.
Oh, sure. I guess I'm Dharmendra Gordon. I'm a vegan activist. I live in Mesa, Arizona, where Sailesh Rao did the Vegan World 2026 just recently, and that's where I met Jamin Shively and joined Radish.org, and then met Benjamin and Suzanne and other people. And I think that's enough for now. Hi.
Hi, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So I think at this point, the agenda is mostly open. We can talk about the survey and the groups that are coming out of them. Benjamin and I realized that we haven't actually taken the survey yet, so we will do that. Sorry. And or yeah, if anyone wants to propose an agenda item, or if that sounds good. Carrie?
So I filled out the survey. I almost kind of forgot which one I said I was going to participate in, but I think it's like vegan outreach and tying groups together. So I was just wondering, so now that I've signed up for a group, what's the next step? Ray, are you going to say, hey, Carrie, welcome to this group you signed up to that you kind of forgot which one it was? But
I'll have a look and see which one you're signed up for. But we're letting the groups populate, and the ones that some of them have got a head start. They started talking at the conference and have had talks since the conference. So as we add more people, they'll be able to update on what they've what goals they've set for their study group or task force. And I think we need to have occasional just general group meetings, and everybody can talk about their involvement in groups, which could, get people excited and make it kind of a recruiting process. Some people have signed up for one or two groups. Some have signed up for several, and one person signed up for all of them. So I suggested that maybe she should, pick her favorite 5.
okay, thanks.
Like, I'm in the Vegan activist groups. If you guys were at Vegan, this is the second year I went to the conference, but this is the first year that we've had the groups. But I'm in the Vegan activist groups, which we had our first, kind of a meeting at the conference. So you guys remember when we broke out into those groups? But I'm sure I'm going to be helping Jane with she's head of the media group, I believe.
Yeah, the media.
Yeah. So I'm probably sure I'm going to be dealing with that. But I really like the Vegan activist groups because the Vegan activist group is the group of activists, basically. So we did a test of that when we were in Mesa, and we did 2 disruptions. And I'm not saying that we need to be doing disruptions. I'm just saying we kind of did that to show people this is one type of activism, but we do every type of activism you could think of. But I feel like we do need to take action pretty much every single day in our behaviors and aligning our behaviors with our morals, because if we're vegans but we're still behaving in a way in the old system, that's not going to accelerate our movement to get to a vegan world. We really need to change the way we behave, like I was explaining with our new website and the new system. We'll eventually go to Aquarius, but right now we're having to use money, currency, until we move to not Bitcoin, but we're going to move to a currency like Aquarius type thing. But right now we're not in the gift economy yet, but we're working on that. I think it's step by step. Yeah.
That points out one of the interesting things about these groups and the questions themselves. They were formed in the context of shift questions, dealing with the world that we have now and shifting towards the world that we want. And the new model questions, which is, what is it that we're shifting towards? What is it that is going to be the new model of whatever category the topic is about? So there's lots of different systems that have to change as parts of this Vegan World 2026. And some of them are very big. Some of them, it may not turn out the way that we wanted to, but or in the order that we wanted to. Some things will happen that will cause things to change course, and we need to adapt to those. So there's, to borrow from the military, strategy, and then there's tactics. Strategy is planning where you're going, and tactics is how you respond when things don't go the way that you anticipated. But I think all of it is going to be very. It's going to be quite a lot of fun to see all the different expertise come together, because you can read books about different topics, and you can talk to people who have read books. And since I've become an activist, there's been a pile of books that I've been dying to read, but I just don't have the time to do it. But talking to people who have downloaded an awful lot of knowledge on so many different topics is really exciting, and seeing how those ideas mesh with other ideas.
Yeah, along the lines of what Sarah's talking about, I'm kind of at so last night at my potluck, I was talking about how I feel like there's just this spectrum of where people are on this journey. They're unconsciously, and they're just eat meat and just live their lives like they always have. And then we have, vegetarians, and then we have vegans, and then we have plant-based whole food people. And so, for me, I'm just like brand new vegan. So I'm still learning, and I know that it's a lifestyle and a way of living that is, it's very deep, and it has a lot of meaning. And so, but for me, and where I'm at with what has inspired me to be here, is that I want, I want to get people just to not eat meat. And that's it seems like that's a very big step one. And so I would be a part of kind of like what Sarah is working on, but and just kind of like breaking things down into steps that people can understand, and it not be like vegan. A lot of people don't even know what that means, and they immediately shut down. Vegetarian, they know what that means. And so that's just kind of like where I'm at. I'm like over here with trying to have that first shift of, just getting rid of animal agriculture, period, right? And just for the fact that it's the number one solution for climate change, and it's the right thing to do as far as our health and the animals. I don't even think people even understand that we how do you put that? You grow animals to eat them. That was kind of a thing for me, like an epiphany. Like when I was deeper into veganism and animal agriculture and learning about it, is like when I understood that the land use was being the food that we grow is fed to the animals that we eat. Like I would probably venture to say that 80 to 90% of people don't think of it that way. And so, but I'm already there, and then I heard about it, so then it was like, it always makes sense to me because I'm already practicing this lifestyle. And so I'm trying to figure out ways in order that I can talk about this in a way that where people meet them where they're at, so that I can get an aha moment through the unconsciousness. So, having breakfast and spending the weekend with my family who, they have their eggs and they eat bacon, and then my beautiful dish came, and my dad had to write down on his little notepad. He was like, "Oh, that looks so good. What's that called?" I'm like, "The vegetarian skillet," like Denny says, a skillet. It was amazing, but my food looks so much better than theirs, just visually. And so that was where I tapped in. Like I didn't, as much as I wanted to drag them and, sit there, they know where I'm at, right? But just ordering the best plate of food that was good for me, the planet, and the animals, I'm just sitting there happy as a lark, and so, but then what? Then what are the next steps? And so, that's kind of like that's where I'm coming from as far as being part of this whole movement and think tank, and how we can, get the shift to happen, and, with what groups of people.
Carrie, I'm looking at the Basecamp now. Are you Carrie H? What's your last name?
You're on mute, Carrie.
Yes, I'm Carrie Hull, Hull, and I don't know how to change any of my settings on Zoom, so that's why it's remaining Carrie H.
It looks like the only one you're signed up for is Vegan Collective Intelligence Group.
Oh, and is that what I'm doing right now?
Mm-hmm. And the Vegan World 2026, which is the main lobby.
No, there was one that I wanted to do. I can't remember. I'll have to go back through.
I'll check
I did the Google sheet.
Overlooked one on the survey, or if it dropped off for some reason. But
yeah, I filled out the Google sheet and I got submitted. So hopefully, I'll look at it again. Okay, thanks, Ray.
So this is Ann, and I have a question, Ray. I asked part of this question last week. Like, I wanted to sign up for all of them, but didn't. I picked 5 or 6. And now I realize that I didn't write down what I signed up for. And I said I would be willing to organize any of them. And I don't know which groups are already organized and have people in place. And so I didn't say, I'll organize that one. So I'm not exactly sure. It didn't occur to me until after I submitted it that I didn't write them down or print it out or do something. So I know I've said I want to do a lot. I actually do want to do a lot, but I don't remember what I signed up for.
You have a bunch of them. And I don't know what happens. It says that you're going to be notified after I enter save changes to the groups that I've added you to. So you didn't receive any email notifications?
I have received some things where there were some resources that were put in. You're a part of this group. I got some things that said, this is embarrassing because I can't think of who it was. Someone uploaded a whole bunch of resources for different groups. I got those, but I didn't get something that said, hey, you're a part of this group.
Are you logging into the Basecamp itself? Because I know there's some people that are trying to do everything from, like, they're reading all the messages from their email, but you have to click on go to Basecamp, and then you'll go to your account. And I believe if you do that, the first homepage will show all the groups that you're signed up for.
So I didn't do the training things that you told us we should do. So I will go back and do that.
But I think that's pretty much get started.
Cool.
And it's pretty intuitive from there. Each page looks pretty much the same. You'll see that the first main page says Vegan World 2026, which is the group that includes everybody. And then there's teams and projects. So the projects are all the things that we've signed up for.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. I will spend some time learning Basecamp and how to figure that out. Okay, cool.
Maybe there's a way for us to follow up the survey takers and just kind of like with the confirmation. Suzanne and I can work on this.
Yeah, like once we get their responses, sending something back and being like, here's what we got from you.
And
so
maybe
they do have that reference. Yeah.
And maybe we reach out to you, Ray, to kind of gauge, like Ann was saying, to kind of gauge where people are going to fall within, if there are multiple people wanting to be the leader of the group versus not. We'll talk to you about that. And then I think sending out a confirmation would be helpful.
Yeah.
You're doing the survey shortly, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to what happens after I sign people up for things, what sort of email notification they get. And if there's any, I'm assuming there's no hint that you're supposed to click on go to Basecamp. Basecamp, it seems, I think that you kind of expect it to be a lot more complicated, but I think that your email is basically your portal to the Basecamp. You get a notification, you click on go to Basecamp, and then you'll go to the part of Basecamp that's relevant to your email. And then you can navigate through Basecamp, or you can just go back to your email and find the next thing that's related to you and respond to it. So it's pretty straightforward. Finding things may be a little bit more tricky. Somebody's trying to find how to change the settings so that they're not notified for every little bit of chatting that we've got going on in the Vegan World 2026, kind of the lobby group,
Right.
the lobby area. Some people have it on their phone, so it's dinging constantly. There is some settings. I'm hoping there's sufficient settings to determine what. I know it only notify you when you are specifically tagged or somebody pings you directly is one of the features, but there may not be, a lot of customizational options. We'll see.
Another idea I had, this is slightly, it's slightly off topic, slightly related. Ray, if there are some groups that you have put you've sorted questions from the conference into groups that don't end up getting populated with people, we could use this group here as, a playground for those questions, even if we invite other people to have the conversation with us.
Yeah, that's a good plan.
Yeah, it just depends on.
I was wondering about that myself, because there are some that aren't. A lot of questions are very specific to a particular sector of knowledge, and some people just haven't signed up for. Well, I'm looking at it now. There is we're starting to get a pretty good balance. But some of the big ones, like land rehabilitation study, that kind of requires a little bit of a specific expertise and desire to, get into the nuts and bolts of our ecosystems and how they rehabilitate. And ones like that, I'd like to try to lure some, people that are famous for that kind of thinking to get involved in it. And, it may not be a big group, but they may not knock down all their questions on the first day if you get the right person involved. You may remember the veganic gardening guy from the Cowspiracy documentary, Greg Lightis. I got him signed up. He was a bit shy, but I said, there's a veganic permaculture study group. We need you for this.
Oh, right.
He said, well, I don't know. I'm not that much of a talker. I'm just going to work behind the scenes. But I saw at the CowCon, he did a presentation on how to get rid of all the animals and maintain a nationwide agriculture system that doesn't use any manure. It's like, do we need that? Yeah, we need that. That's not part of the shift group. That's part of the new model group. We need to envision that new model. And he's done all the math for it. So that's actually on YouTube. He's got a YouTube video of that recording at CowCon. And we got a transcription of it because we're like, well, this is genius stuff. We have to tap into this. And find other people that are like-minded. There's a veganic permaculture network. They've identified there's a map with a bunch of pins in it, so they're kind of scattered all over the place. But
we were just living on one of them. Last year we lived on
Spoke and Leaf, which is out west of Portland. Spoke and Leaf, like a bicycle spoke. Yeah,
I think I've heard of that. Who started that one?
Her name's Bonnie.
Bonnie Hildebrand.
That does sound a bit familiar, but I mean, I've been on the Veganic Network website, so that's probably where I've seen it.
Yeah.
But there was somebody that one of my former coworkers went to go visit in Oregon that is kind of like the guru of veganic.
That would be Helen.
Oh, Helen, yeah.
What's her last name?
Atto?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, she's definitely the the godmother of the veganic movement or something, as I understand it. Yeah.
She's got some incredibly in-depth YouTube videos too that are super interesting.
So we have to get her involved.
Yeah, and we'll at least I will be joining that group too.
Yeah, and we can reach out to Bonnie and see if she wants to be involved.
So saying that some of the groups are specialized and require a knowledge of dirt. Land Rehabilitation Study Group. One that Sailesh asked me to add, I'm not sure what to do with it, but people are signing up for it. Kimaya's $1 Million Vegan Video Production. So she's going to be making more videos. And everybody wants to see more videos, so even people that have nothing to do with video production are probably getting involved. I want in.
Yeah, I started writing a script, like a draft, to share with the group. I don't have any script writing experience, but the Sailesh has already put out the information for adults, and there are templates for scripts. So I'm gonna try to make one for her.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I made the Vegan Evan video where he explains climate change and goes beyond into, tearing apart the whole compromised structure of our government and corporatocracy, which is pretty funny coming out of an 8-year-old. But I mean, adults watch it and their guard is put down because it's this cute kid talking about stuff. The biggest problem was probably that everybody loved it and forwarded it before they watched the whole thing. I watched the analytics and they watched you get through the climate change stuff and so many people stop watching there. I'm like, no, the good stuff is still coming. But we got such great storytelling kids in our vegan community. We have to use that to its fullest potential.
Yeah, I mean, you should think of Greta Thunberg in that regard because she's made a really big impact on the society because she's young and she has no agenda except for, helping save the planet. So I think that a lot of people were also disarmed by her candid plea for help.
Well, and I think that Evan and Kimaya and the other little kids, the 8, 9, 10-year-olds, are really disarming because you're thinking you're going to watch something kind of cute and then it's like, holy shit, oh my God. And I've had some success with people that wouldn't listen to anything I had to say, but did watch those videos. Now, I haven't seen great change yet, but you plant the seed in a different way and it's going to have an impact. So I think those videos made by kids or starring kids or whatever is a really, really good tactic or strategy. I can't remember which is which.
I know this is probably going to be a really ridiculous question, but I mean, I saw the video at the conference and then I videoed the video and then I was like going to share it. Would be better if I just waited until it came out. So is it shareable right now as a YouTube video?
Yeah, there are 2 $1 Million Vegan videos out right now.
At least maybe 2.
I can't wait to give everybody on my Facebook page that as a gift this Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, that'll be
next day or next week on Monday. I believe it's Monday to launch through Animal Hero Kids. So it's the Animal Hero Kids doing the $1 Million Vegan. Obviously, we saw those clips during the Vegan 2026. So it's the big launch is actually Monday. It's either Monday or Tuesday. So because yesterday I think it said 6 more days. So Susan Hargreaves she founded Animal Hero Kids. So it's Evan, Genesis, Veggie, and all of them. They all did, commercials for MDV, $1 Million Vegan. That's what MDV is. And AHK is Animal Hero Kids. So if you see those
should I wait?
acronyms Yeah.
Where would I
So
find
they're
that?
going to be going mainstream, and there's a big campaign. They're all over Instagram. Pretty much had it with my iPad right now. Okay. So yeah, they're all over Instagram, and then the big launch, they come out to the mainstream. It's either Monday or Tuesday, whatever day. Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I'm not an Instagram person.
it's okay. I mean, Genesis has 30,000 followers just on one of her Instagram accounts, and Evan has 15,000 on one of his. But it's just a collection of all the Animal Hero kids doing the videos for MDV Project.
I found is it Kamaya?
Mhm.
Kamaya. Okay, I found Kamaya's video on Facebook, Carrie. And maybe there's more too coming out next week, but I'll at least send you that link.
Right, there's more.
Oh, that'd be great.
I don't know if everybody's seen the Vegan Evan video of the climate change kind of animation. He turns into an avatar and explains climate change. I went back and because I retained ownership of it from my employer that was working on it at the time, the campaign ended. So I said, as part of my final payment, I'd like to retain ownership of the video. So I've changed the T-shirt. What's on his T-shirt? I've changed it to Prevent Year Zero, and added Animal Hero Kids as sorry about that, as one of the co-sponsors on the video. And I think they've posted on Facebook. I keep finding the old version on YouTube, so I'm just looking for a link for it.
I guess we can, if this is a natural kind of pause, maybe we move on to the agenda item that Carrie brought up, which is kind of how do we bring more, explain what this is, in particular this meeting, and how do we bring more people into it?
Or was it to this meeting or to a particular base camp group that would be of interest to your friend?
Well, kind of like what Ray was saying, how you, Ray, described it as like a think tank. I think of Basecamp as the think tank for Vegan World 2026. Now I can at least say that. And then within this Basecamp, there's groups that I believe that you would fit into in your area of interest of land preservation or your resources, vegan resources, and that kind of thing. So, but how would I then, who would I put them in touch with? Or is there a person, or should there be a person, or like, do we have a welcome to Basecamp person?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Sounds kind of like what you were saying, that you were going to be the Basecamp people. One of the things that I wanted to do was that there are projects and there are teams, and we're not getting a wild, subscription. We've only got about 23 people that have gone through the survey, which is a manageable number of people for me to go through and talk to independently and describe the next step, which is to divide into teams. I think people will be involved in projects which have particular objectives. But one of the things that Sailesh talks about in his webinar videos, the last video, he's talking about roles that we have as activists in facilitating change. Most of us as activists, we're illuminators. We want to show the way to the new system that we're building. But there's other roles as well, and they're very specific personality and skill set and outlook kind of role. So there's not something in particular that they're doing. They are, roles that like-minded people will get together in the Trailblazer team, or the hospice workers team, or the protectors team. And I think most people will be involved in the Illuminators group, which will be a nice big collective to work out big ideas of how we get these ideas into our mainstream society. But talking to people about those, there's a few little videos that are worth having a look at, so the relationship between these teams are understood. And so that's something that I wanted to try to make some time to talk to the people who have signed up for the base camp, because a lot of them aren't people that were part of the conferences. I also have to try to get those people that did attend the conferences to sign up for the what I'm calling the sign up survey, and sort themselves into groups. Has anybody seen my sorting hat on Facebook? Sorry, Warner Brothers, I stole your sorting hat from the Harry Potter series for a little bit of marketing of our survey. But get sorted into your groups.
So Ray, would you be the point person for people who are just coming to base camp? Like, don't they have to be invited by email to base camp first? So, I mean, tell me like what the steps would be if I by email wanted to introduce you to somebody. Just do that.
Yeah, I am the point person. That's what Celeste wanted me to do, is to touch base with all the people that were at the conference. Enthusiasm was really high at the moment when people are at the conference, but then life sinks back in, and there will be some people that need to be reminded of those great objectives that we've got, and get involved in the different groups and get a sense of what's already happening, because I know that there's groups that have already been meeting, and I haven't been part of it. So I'd like to get involved in those and see what's going on, and seeing where we need more groups. Because I think one of my friends that I signed up for it, at the bottom of the survey is a field that says suggestions for other groups. And they said changes of the world through art. And I thought, yeah, I guess that's kind of missing. There's elements of it that would affect a lot of different categories, but get the artists involved in, thinking outside of the box of the scientists and that are analyzing our population. Sometimes you take the back door to the mind and come up with all sorts of great solutions.
I love that idea, because it's also images and art that can shake people out of unconsciousness unexpectedly, have an impact on people. I love that idea.
Yeah, one of the teams is storytellers. What was it called? Mythology and Story? Narrative and Mythology was one that Jamin suggested, and that's another one of those things that may be a team rather than a project. It's something that is so true that we need it in those kind of perspectives in all the different projects, that essentially people only understand story. You have to interpret every scientific precept as a story, or else people won't be able to have a visceral reaction to it. You say, 2 degrees of warming, that doesn't mean anything to most people. You have to turn it into a story of what that actually means before you'll get any sort of reaction to it. will permeate their life. You might capture them for a moment, but unless you have the stories that really click with people, then there really isn't any movement. The movement itself is a story of where we're going. So these groups may be, these teams may be people that might join other groups or be asked to join a discussion because they need more storytellers. We haven't got anybody that's a storyteller. We need somebody that's a trailblazer. We kind of have, stagnant ideas that just seem kind of pat and on the nose. Who are the people that are going to come up with really nifty ideas to think outside the box? So those might be trailblazers. And hospice workers is an interesting concept of any kind of activism, because we know as animal rights activists and vegan activists, we want to end the animal agriculture industry. And a huge portion of the population is going to be either saying or thinking, yeah, but what about the farmers? You want to end in an industry. There are people that are involved in that. So you have to have that balance, that you have to have a plan to make that transition. And we often talk in terms of we're going to have this vegan world tomorrow. It's going to be a transition. We don't really have the ability to snap our fingers and make a vegan world. So projecting from that 2026, for example, back to today is an extremely liberating way to communicate with people, because they're not going to fall into that trap of saying, yeah, but if everybody went vegan today, then what would we do with all the animals? It's kind of a silly conversation, but it's always there because people haven't begun to imagine anything yet about how this transition would happen. And I thought, I don't know if anybody's seen Philip Wallen in that Animals Off the Menu debate in Australia. Somebody asked him that question, and he said, well, we'll let them eat what do we do with all the animals if everybody went vegan? And they said, well, we'll let them eat this last batch and then stop growing new ones, which is a pretty simple answer, but it's kind of a meta answer that really is, over the course of years, we will get less and less animals born for captivity and consumption. And we'll eventually get to a point where we then decide whether we make domestic species go extinct or we set them free, figure out a way to reintroduce them to the wild. And that's actually one of the study groups is probably covers a few. Thriving Systems Study Group, Nature Stewardship Study Group. And imagine that would be a E.O. Wilson's Half-Earth solution would be a very central topic to a lot of what we're aiming for. Edward O. Wilson, if people are familiar with him, has a book called Half-Earth, and it's based on his solution that we give half of the earth back to the animals, and this is his solution to solve biodiversity. And he's got a whole organization that is trying to develop the science. It was very similar to what we're doing, where they're trying to project what we would need and how do we get there. And what we would need is to the land that we give back to the animals will be corridors that allow for migration. So a lot of land is quite clearly going to be retained by the human race. It's not going to be, Manhattan Island that we give back to the animals. It's going to be one of many different projects, which include a corridor a mile wide from Atlanta to Los Angeles, which is a pretty cool idea. They're working on a project that's trying to develop that to make sure that it works ecologically and that it is something that is desirable to the human race. And of course, a lot of outdoors people that want to have hiking trails would love to have that sort of shared land between the animals. You give it back to the animals, but it becomes forest and wild area that we become their guests if we go there. So this is ideas that precede us, and we can tap into it, engage those organizations, and convince them that, the way you free up land is you get people to go vegan, and then you have all this extra land. You have a surplus of land that you can negotiate with and change some of the narratives of, people say that you can't grow food on all the land that you can graze. So that's a narrative limited to the idea of land is for people to make money off of, and grazing is a way that you turn sunlight into beef. So if land is owned by somebody and it has to be monetized somehow, we have to think of different ways. And there are many different ways that one of the quick answers is that we don't necessarily need to grow food on every square foot of land that is owned. Some of it is growing back forests, and forests can grow anywhere that, if there was forest there 300 years ago, there can be forests there tomorrow. And we need to identify those places. Even one of the categories. Sorry?
Well, and prairies and ruminants who are simply living off the land. So the cattle ranchers today who say we can, reestablish good soil by having cows graze. Well, we can do that by having deer graze and elk graze and moose graze and bison graze without ever killing them. We don't have to do that. Whether it's forest or prairie land,
yeah,
we can regenerate soil without killing anyone.
And without ownership of the animals too, because as soon as I was thinking about that with the, I think I shared before the picture on the drawdown page of the cows in the forest in the silvopasture page. They call it silvopasture, growing livestock in forests. So that's a great transition way for people who feel that they have to make use of the land. Start reforesting it and phase out your animal enterprise. And I was thinking, why do you have to phase out? I mean, do they think that they're going to be able to maintain this kind of a system forever? Does it work within in an animal liberation context? Even if they didn't eat the animals, if there's ownership of those animals, they will defend them, and they will defend them from the predator species. So you grow the forest back, the predators start to return, and then all the farmers will kill all the bobcats and wolves to protect their herds. So really what you need is they keep talking about replicating nature. You replicate nature by letting nature do its thing, and nature is much more clever than we are. We don't need human predators doing the population control. We need to have nature making those calls instead of us. E.O. Wilson's idea was to return biodiversity, and I know some hunters that would say that we're always going to have to be killing animals to maintain their populations, but that's assuming the identity of the predator species, and we've never naturally been a predator species. It's always been a bit of a pantomime, and I know hunters wouldn't like me to say it, but I think that ever since we started hunting, it's been a bit of a charade. We were a scared primate species for millions of years, like the Australopithecus was like about 4 feet tall, and they were proven to be the common prey of jungle cats, the saber-toothed tigers. So it wasn't until they left Africa and they started to have to defend themselves, and I think the first weapons were weapons of defense that eventually they learned to become the dominant species, and and kind of liked it. Anybody that's been oppressed and been on the bottom for a long time wants to be on the top one, likes that rush of turnaround fair play and start hunting the animals that used to hunt them. But we're doing it with sharpened sticks or rifles or, now drones and all sorts of technology. It's all a pantomime and not really, it's a little bit hard to argue that it's natural. It's something that we've done, but it may be an extraneous conversation, but it's an interesting one to explore. And extraneous as compared to agriculture, so I think it's a much more serious topic.
Sorry, hey, Ray, I have a quick question. How many people are in the conference? Do you know, more or less?
Has anybody here attended any of the conferences? There's 2 conferences, right?
Yeah, I was at the last conference, and there were approximately 100 people, wouldn't you say? So Sarah was there, and Benjamin and Suzanne were there, and I think Carrie was there.
But it was a lot more people last year. It was like, last year it was different. It was at Soul Center, and we had different places. So it was like the people that invented the vegan coin were there. Isaac and the other guy. And last year, I think there was over 300 people.
Wow.
I'm sure of it, because this year was like, where is everybody? But I think it was like a big hype last year, and then everybody, like Ray said, goes along their thing and does their thing. But I think this year a lot of people couldn't come. Rowdy Girl couldn't come. Renee couldn't come because she had something going on because they had to move. Rowdy Girl, they had to relocate from all the floods. So climate change actually affected a lot of people not being able to come, actually, because they're having a lot of issues with their sanctuaries and stuff. But like we came last year, Jane and Chain Crew, we came, and then we came this year because I introduced Jane and Silash, actually. And I met Silash I met him at Petaluma outside of a slaughterhouse, supposedly a cage-free egg facility. Not actually a slaughterhouse, a cage-free egg facility, which it's not. But yeah. And he gave me a ride to the airport, and then he brought my luggage to Jane's house, and then it just all kind of snowballed from there. And then that was after the Animal Liberation Conference in Berkeley, and that's where I met Dr. Rao, and that's where Jane met him, and then it ended up she jumped on the Vegan 2026 bandwagon. So yeah. But this year, I was pretty disappointed that so many of the people didn't come back, and I was wondering why, but I know why Renee couldn't come for sure. She wanted to, but that's why I think, like, with these study groups, I kind of think that there's probably too many study groups, in my personal opinion, because I feel like the most important study group is the media, holding the media accountable, and the vegan activism, which is the Vegactivist, because we already know the answer.
I think some of them may not get a lot of momentum. And that's okay. If it's a topic that we haven't got many soldiers to pursue it and hunt it down, wow. Hunt it down. I got to think of more vegan-friendly phrases.
Right.
But
our language it's really hard, but our language has to change.
I was trying to steer away from the military terms and ended up in hunting terms. Fishing terms, I can't get rid of them. It's just like casting a net and putting some lines out. And
So that's speciesist language, and I really urge everybody to really think about what they're saying, because when people on the news say, well, she doesn't have a horse in that race, or they don't have a dog in that fight, or bird in hand, or whatever that thing is, but we really have to stop ourselves being speciesists and using speciesist language, because if we're going to perpetuate the change, then we need to be the change, which obviously you guys know that. But so many vegans or plant-based or whatever you want to call yourself use speciesist language, and to me, I can't deal with that. I mean, I've been doing activism since 2009, and I just think it's time for everybody. The vegan movement has got to step up, because I don't want to see any more pictures of your food. I don't give a F about your food. I really don't. I need to see you going into action, because these animals are dying while we're having this call. Billions and billions of animals are dying right now. It's like 20 million chickens every minute. At 20 million chickens every minute die. I mean, that's a wake up call. I mean, I flip people vegan every day, like 3 or 4 people a day is my goal. I mean, and I don't even mean to, I am trying to, but I do it in a different way. I mean, I flipped my AT&T person the other day vegan because she said she was thinking about it, blah, blah, blah. And I told her the whole story about everything. And it just, I feel compelled because if we don't say anything, it's like we were in the dark. We were there once too. And she said something about, did I ever eat meat? I mean, yeah, of course I ate meat. I ate raw meat. I ate it out of the package like a crazy person. You know, I told her everything. You know, I would eat raw meat. You know, that's disgusting. But you know what? That's okay because we were all there once. Not everybody's born vegan. Most people are not born vegan. But we have to say something because if we don't, then that's a missed opportunity. And we don't even have to say it like, why are you eating that? That's disgusting. Don't you realize that's dead flesh? We can just say, hey, you know what? I had really bad acne and it cleared up because blah, blah, blah. I mean, just whatever it takes to me, whatever it takes, because we're in climate crisis. We're not in climate change anymore. We are in a crisis. Did you see that thing about the 14,000 sheep that drowned the other day that were left on that boat? After all of that, they left them on the boat and they saved like 400 of them, but the other 13,700 and whatever, they just drown like that. You know, that's really sad. And that koala that just died in Australia. I mean, I was just in Sydney last year for the new year. I just flew over real quick to go with my mom and I was pissed off the whole time because there's no vegan food there. No matter what anyone says about Sydney, there's no vegan food there. And I've been to Australia many times and I was just pissed. And I wanted to come back so bad to LA because that's my little vegan bubble. But just animal cruelty everywhere. It's just everywhere in our faces every day. And we have to stop it because we're the ones. That's why we're in Vegan 2026. You know, I know everybody's probably got jobs and they're not like me that gave up their whole life for animal activism, but I just feel like we've got to push. That's what Jane does every day on her. You know, if you guys don't like her page already, you should like Jane Unchained News. And if you don't have time to watch her videos, just share them out. Because sometimes people go vegan just by seeing just one thing. It just took one statement for me to say I love animals. And my friend turned around and said, if you love animals, then why do you eat them? I mean, I just said, oh, I just love animals so much while we were doing some animal activism. And my friend just turned to me and she just snapped at me. She was like, well, if you love animals so much, Sarah, well, then why do you eat them? And that was my wake up call. But you know, that it may not happen for everybody that easily, but that's just what happened to me. And maybe it's because I knew her and I was her daughter's Hebrew school teacher and whatever, but it just clicked like that. And then from then on, the light bulb went off. But I mean, I just think if these people have smartphones and they're looking at their phone all the time, I mean, how do they not see the one thing, the very thing that could cause them to have world peace, health, better health? The whole answer is plant-based. I mean, we all know that. The answer is plant-based. So why are people, you know, I don't want to pay for people's health insurance and all their BS stuff. I don't care. Honestly, I don't give a F if you have cancer. I don't. If you have cancer, I don't care because you are the one that caused yourself to get cancer. And if you're not going to take personal responsibility for your actions, I don't give a fuck. I just don't anymore. I know this is being recorded but I'm done with these people not taking personal responsibility for their actions. They have a choice 3 times a day, every day of their life, to make compassionate choices. And you've got to give them some reason to do that. And you have to speak up. For me, I speak up. I don't care if everyone hates me. I am not here for people to like me. I am here because these animals, like we just said, are dying. And they're not just dying, they're being tortured. I've been in slaughterhouses. I've been in too many slaughterhouses. I don't want to keep going back to slaughterhouses, but I will if that's what it takes. Because all of these cage-free, humane, all of these people, I mean, people were telling me today where I was at a grocery store that was only vegetarian, vegan, not even sell dead flesh, about the dairy stuff. And they're like, well, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, I promise you, I've been there. There's no such thing as humane anything, humane murder, humane raising, whatever. It just doesn't exist. And it's just like getting these people out of the normalized violence, brainwashing, taking the red pill, the blue pill, whatever it is in the matrix. They've got to wake up. I mean, I mean, I don't want to wait till vegan 2026. Like, you want to wait 6 more years? You want to see this for 6? I don't want to see this one more day. I'm tired of going to see pigs. 39,000 in Smithfield a night in North Carolina, 10,000 a night at Farmer John's in LA. I mean, these pigs are smarter than dogs, and they know what's happening to them. So we have to wake these people up. If we have to go to Joaquin Phoenix every day and ask him to help us, that's what we have to do. But we need to perpetuate this at a very high speed, like the high-speed slaughter that they're trying to pass. We need to go to high-speed activism. That's just my personal opinion. I'm sorry, but I have to say that.
Well, how do you characterize the brainwashing that you see that most of society has, that's creating the greatest obstacle? One that I see is that it's human centricism, anthropocentrism, that everything is about humans being on a different level from animals. And if you solve that one thing, that's such a huge step, but it's not something that changes overnight. I mean, I would love to see it change overnight, but I'm not sure. I've been involved with animal rights for 4 years now, and I see that it's very central to get people to start caring about animals the way that they care about humans. But it's going to be really hard to get humans to stop caring about humans, especially once you take a look at climate change, and the people that live on the front lines of climate change aren't going to be necessarily right in front of us. They might be in Bangladesh. They might be people in island nations in the Pacific. And we have to have compassion for people. And of course, there's animals on those islands too. And there's animals that are dying by their species are just getting completely wiped out. And we may not ever know. We don't have the same benefit of having compassion for a tree frog that goes extinct the same way that we can stand in front of a slaughterhouse truck and have compassion for farmed animals. So some of these systemic problems are, a bit different than that face-to-face visceral, care about these suffering animals. Those narratives still are important, and the intersection with the going vegan for the climate movement obviously is there, but it works on a different scale. It works on a, unfortunately, much slower scale, because we have a lot of work to do with the environmental movements that are so fixated on fossil fuels. They now dig in and say that they've kind of doubled down on the fossil fuels are the main problem and need to be solved. So there's these political issues that we need to solve, even on the ones that are supposed to be on our side, right? And
what do you say about religion, though? Because to me, I would say honestly, like half the problem is there's 22 million evangelical Christians that, no offense to anybody that's Christian here, but I believe that Thomas's movie Prayer for Compassion is a huge breakthrough to these religious people that say that we have dominion over the animals, even though I know the Hebrew is not even say that, but that we have dominion but not domination. That's the Christian words. That's Greek. I mean, if most people, if they're Christian, they don't even know Greek language. People need to go back to the real text. But my thing is that it's religion. It's obviously the advertising, the big ag, the big farm, all that stuff, the government subsidies and stuff. But it's like, to me, like the animal agriculture really is the number one. If you stop the animal agriculture, you solve everything. To me personally, I do believe that it's the key to everything, because then you're not ingesting all the sadness and the suffering and the anger, and people start being nice to each other. And I do believe that world peace is completely attainable 100%. It's almost like we have to brainwash them to say, hey, you're brainwashed, but wake up. Like, I know there's no magic potion that we could put on them, or else we would, but how is it that we woke up and they are not awake? I mean, how are we empathetic and intelligent enough to figure this out? But they claim to be intelligent. I mean, I have a whole family of doctors that try to tell me about all this BS, but I just look at them and go, how did you get a perfect score on the MCAT? I mean, how? And you can't see this? You know, I just got in a huge fight with my family the other night, and my dad literally like kicked me out of his house. Like, I'm not even speaking to my family right now. It's awful. But my mom's like, well, she's trying to get him to go vegan. I'm like, no, I'm trying to get him to quit being verbally abusive, because he's doing that because he's ingesting all this sadness and suffering. I believe that it's a systematic problem, because everything stems from the animal of humans/men being dominant over an animal. I mean, I don't know that many women that work in slaughterhouses. When I go to slaughterhouses and they give tours, I don't see many women working in there. I see African American, I see brown people, African American. I see very poor, Latinos. And these people, they're being farmed also. So they're in the system. So yeah, I mean, Dr. Rouse says it too. They're being farmed. But I mean, there's got to be some kind of like, we even try to get ads on the Super Bowl last year. We tried to get a big ad, and we had a big billboard going around playing Darius Scary that I paid for. But the whole thing is that we have to get to the masses like immediately. And no matter what they say, we have to do it, because they're going to push us out, try to kill us, whatever they're going to try to do. But we have to get thousands of people organized and going into this and just mobilizing, like us sitting behind our computers all the time and typing all this stuff on Facebook. That's great, but we really need to be on the front forces, is my personal opinion. I think a lot of people are actually scared. I think a lot of people are scared because so many people are in the Ionesco version. If you know the playwright Ionesco, they're in the conformists. They don't even want to conform or they do want to conform, I guess. I'm not really sure what side they're on, but it's like they want to stay in the dark because they're scared.
Carrie had a question.
I do.
Compassion for animals.
Yeah. So, Sarah, you made me think of something interesting because of kind of like the split personality of humankind when it comes to compassion for animals. So if it's a spotted owl or the bald eagle or their pet horse, or they're like, I'm in a community where they are crazy for dogs. And so it's just interesting to me. That's just like, it's such a disconnect. So it's not like they don't care about animals. They do, but only specific ones. It's like they don't associate a hamburger with a cow. They don't associate bacon with pig. And if I think that is going to be part of the unbrainwashing, is to eliminate wherever that disconnect came from. And obviously it's marketing. It's, God, remember the dairy and the got milk mustaches? Oh God, thank God that's over. I hope it is. Maybe I just haven't seen them, but so that's cool. And there's a handful of celebrities that have influence and that do try to push forward animal compassion and the vegan culture, and I think now is the time. Now is the time. So I think, Sarah, you should be feeling very good about yourself. You're positioned in the right place, and it's going to be happening very soon. So that's what this is about. So, we might feel a little disorganized, and we might have gone from 300 to 100, but at some point, Sarah, I'd love to get back with you and talk about like, where did the attrition go and how can we re-engage people, because it's essential that for those of us that are not eating meat, stick together, and in any way, everybody has something to give. Whether they don't like to be in front of people or knocking on people's doors, but they're behind the scenes designing graphics that work effectively in the marketing in the complete, we have to flip it upside down. And they flipped it upside down once, and we can do it again. So you inspire me for all that you've already done, and I know where you are. It's, it can become very difficult, but I'm shocked that I'm even a part of these Zoom conferences, because it's totally out of my element, but I've never felt more at home. Like I would never be on a meeting and with no makeup on or cooking my dinner in front of any of my friends. And I barely know you guys, but you're like my family. It's so funny to me. And I just love it. And yeah, I just wondered what you guys thought about that disconnect between like our pets and endangered species. Hello, we're the ones causing that. And how people have awareness and care and love for that. But then, the animals that we eat, they're like, oh, what animals?
For most of a year, I worked for an organization that was, for a campaign that was geared towards getting animal welfare organizations to adopt a public vegan policy just for their catering, just make this policy for their organization or company. It was, we had a database of 8,000 different organizations across the United States. So that's SPCAs and humane societies. Every single town has one. And pet rescue organizations and wildlife rescue organizations, and even farm animal sanctuaries. Some of them didn't have vegan policies. So we reached out to them with the news about climate change as being a new motivation, because a lot of them have, encountered this already. Okay, we're compassionate for dogs and cats. We're not compassionate for farmed animals, especially the places that were in rural communities where, everybody's a degree of separation away from a farmer or a rancher. So we said, we're taking a new angle, a new approach to this, and it's about the environment. And actually, pets are on the front line of climate change as well, because every time there's a national emergency from a hurricane or a flooding and people are evacuated, thousands of pets get displaced. And there's large dog and cat rescue organizations that this becomes their full-time job, that they have to drop everything that they're doing and address climate disasters. So they said, we don't have the luxury of pretending that climate change doesn't exist. And we know that animal agriculture is a key cause of it. So we want to convey this to everybody in the animal welfare organizations, that they can engage in the vegan movement without actually being a vegan organization. Don't change anything what you're doing. Keep rescuing the cats. Keep rescuing the wildlife. Do what you're doing, but just cater vegan. And inevitably, people are going to go, why are you catering vegan? You're a dog and cat rescue organization. I'm a donor. I want to be fed steak when I write a check for you guys. Explain to them. So this is part of the initiative, is for you to explain the problems that we're facing. So I did this for most of the year, and one of the reasons why we did it is we found an article that said that animal welfare as a industry has an 86% approval rating with the public, which is huge. That's crazy. You can imagine that the difference between animal welfare and animal rights. Animal rights activists, yeah, not quite so high public approval rating. People that make us feel embarrassed about our personal habits. But animal welfare, so much money, and public approval translates into money. So much money being pumped into that the animal liberation people are looking at that and going, we need your help. This is where all the money is going. This is where all the compassion is going, and it's stopping there. And there's no reason that the compassion should stop at dogs and cats. We have to rescue all the animals. So spend a little bit of that public trust that you've accumulated. But surprise, surprise, that's exactly the reason why they don't want to engage in anything as politically iffy as veganism. Like they said in Cowspiracy, like Michael Pollan said, Yeah, I think they test marketed it and they did decide it was a political loser. And he was referring to the environmental organizations that were, trying to decide whether we want to engage with an anti-animal agriculture message. And the answer was no, the money's not there. We were discussing money being a poison at our previous meeting.
I just wanted to thank Sarah for bringing up the anti-speciesist language topic. And
technically, I brought it up by using the anti-species, using this language.
True. Just say that I think communication is really important. Is one of the most important things in activism nowadays, at least where I am in my own bubble. And I think that it's important not only to use anti-speciesist language, but also to be really careful when we talk about humans as well. We know that there is human supremacy, and we don't want the vegan movement or the animal movement to be human-centric, but we want it to be non-human-centric. But I think that we should be really careful with our language, because one way that we will achieve a vegan world is growing the movement. And I don't think we can possibly grow the movement if we're, by accident pushing people away or not being inviting so that others feel interested in joining on a fast enough rate, and also that others don't feel upset with some things that they hear and end up leaving. I'm not sure where everyone is, if they have experienced the same things, but I have seen over and over again, different cities, different countries, people being put off and leaving the movement due to sexism, racism, whatever it is. And also, I hear a lot of people saying that some people don't join the movement or are put off by the vegan movement because of some extremisms. Now, I understand, and I think we all understand here, how, we feel about the horrible things that happens to animals every second that's happening right now. And I also understand that it's very upsetting, and it leads us, to say things sometimes, and sometimes to dismiss others and whatnot. But I think with time, I don't know if it happens with everybody, but with me, it's happening that the communication is changing again. So in the beginning, it was way more aggressive and whatnot. I don't know if it's the right word, but yeah, I guess. And my feelings, some people say now that, oh, you're not as radical as you used to be. And in fact, if you look at the activism that we do, storming into farms and, cutting crates and taking animals out. And, I've been to ALC and DXC Forum several times as well. So big part of that action at Aluma and other actions. Anyways, is way more radical, but I think that the communication is different. And what I feel with my personal journey is that people seem to be more open to talk to me. I don't know if it affects them more or less, and it's a question that I don't know if I'll, ever know. I'm trying to figure this out. I know that as a matter of fact, even when I was more aggressive, let's say with my language, with the way that I was expressing myself, people were still seeing, people still see the post, even if they don't even if they don't say anything about it. But now I don't know if it's just a feel-good factor, or if it's actually something really good that I'm actually having conversations with those people that were really rejecting the message before. And so yeah, I just wanted to say, like, I think like amongst all these groups, like it would be really cool to have something that's talk about communication as well. And besides that, it made me think, like, putting all the pieces together is when in the beginning, like, we're talking about having kids representing, making videos with kids and having them say things. And I think that and then I thought, oh, it's nice to actually hear kids, not just like give them something to say, but hear what they have to say with their own words. And then not only that, but I think that it's really important for us to have a space somehow to, if it's surveys or whatever it is, to have non-vegans to also have an input in our movement. If that makes sense. Like, for instance, when Carrie said that she's a newly vegan, I was so excited, because it's like sometimes we give like so much importance to what professionals, and like we're saying, we need to bring this, people who have experience in this field and that field to the movement. Yes, we do need that, but we also need new people. We need new vegans. We need like people that are fresh, that have a different perspective. And not only that, but also hear and think back with, our history, like what brought us here? What are the factors that made us be here right now? Like made us be here in this call right now, like from those 300 people in the first conference and the other 100, or maybe it's the same, like combined 300 people, like, are they all going to join? Why are they joining? So this is maybe also like another questionnaire or survey that we want to have, like, why are we here right now, and that way, like, using, this information to grow the movement and bring more people in.
I want to make a quick plug for Kamaya, because I was talking about her scripted deforestation video, but they also posted more of an unscripted one where she's just in the chair talking. And it is, like you said, we need to give them a platform to use their own words too, because these kids, what they come up with is just so meaningful.
And I wanted to comment on your saying that there needs to be, we need to continue bringing in fresh perspectives. Suzanne actually didn't get to attend the conference, but we are absolutely coming next year. And this year was our first year, and it blew me away. I didn't know that there were 300 people there last year. But I couldn't tell. The energy at the conference was so incredible. Everybody was so stoked about being there, that I just felt like I was in the right place. And maybe that's just how it's going to work. Like, there's going to be this constant onboarding and offboarding, while the movement keeps moving, hopefully exponentially towards a vegan world. But there's going to be people who fall off the train, people who get on the train, and I'm not sure where I was going with this, other than I'm going to be there next year, and I'm really excited about it.
One thing I was thinking about, that this needs to be a people movement as much as an animal movement, is that there's kind of two stages of people's appreciation of animals as they go vegan. And we tend to go vegan out of compassion. We realize what we're doing is not compassionate. It doesn't match the compassion that we feel. But there's a second level that's almost more important for this to be a fixed, to achieve that vegan world 2026. And that's where animals transcend the compassion of humans to justice, where they have a place in the world, and it's not to serve us. They have, for us to enslave them is an injustice, not that we have the power over them and we've decided to be nice people and decide that it's the best thing not to eat them. We need to get the human race to recognize that they have inherent rights that we're infringing upon them. And everybody that says, well, veganism is a personal choice. When it's a question of injustice, it's not a personal choice anymore. So that's an important shift of the language. But the reason why I said that this has to be a people movement is because people are the center of justice. Animals currently aren't. So all the social justice movements, we want animal rights to be one of those social justice movements. We want to expand the net of what we consider us to include animals. And I mean, people get a little bit confused about animal rights and think that they're going to vote or something. There's I think Ellen made that joke that I'm not sure if I believe in animal rights, because then you'll just have people vote, animals voting, and then of course a nervous twitter of laughter in the audience. We, of course, because everybody is eating these animals and having a struggle with whether that's compassionate or not. And you see what I'm saying, though, that we have to get to that place where eating animals is an injustice and therefore unpalatable for anybody.
Yeah, and I think that Tati, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but what you said about communication is key, because I am with you on the levels of activism that I have, and I think Sarah, same thing, boots on the ground activism, where the effectiveness of certain tactics just isn't as effective as it used to be. And personally, I am trying to figure out how I can talk to everybody about everything, because I mean, I don't have to, I can't even talk to people, right? So I'm not even trying to convince them to do something. They see me coming and they run. So I'm trying to kind of create myself as an activist in my community based on what's best for our planet and the human beings, right? And that is obviously directly correlated with animal agriculture. And so I'm trying to figure out how to do that, like the messaging of it and how to be effective about it, because people care about money. I mean, I was just talking to a friend of mine who happens to run in different circles than I do, which I love to have a friend that's in the other circles. And she said, she's frustrated with, what's happening in our country. And she said, she said, it's very hard because everybody is fine. Like, because the economy is thriving, there's a disassociation that there's anything wrong, because financially and economically things are good. So, which is great, but I never not see problems. I mean, I see good, and I think that's great. And we own our own business. And so people are always like, well, well, aren't you glad the economy is going well? And I'm not really, I don't even know what to tie that to. I don't study economics and US government, so I don't know. I'm not praising anybody for that. But the fact of the matter is, I don't know what the majority of people care about more than just like money and security and their own welfare within their own. You talk about your bubble, right? I mean, that's your community bubble, but most people are not even in a community bubble. They're in myself and my immediate family bubble, and then that's it. And everything's fine. So that's kind of where I'm at.
But the economy, I mean, someone is telling us that the economy is okay, but the truth of the matter is that the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer, and the middle class are getting poorer. And you can't actually survive on a minimum wage job anymore. We haven't been able to for a really long time, truthfully. So I don't know what this bullshit is about the economy is, but the economy is not fine. It absolutely is not fine.
Well,
and pretend that it is just nonsense.
So Anne, that's interesting that you say that, because who I was talking to, we're completely in different economic brackets, right? And she's the one that brought that up to me. And when I am out and I'm boots on the ground knocking on doors, it's always wealthy and poor people. They're always somehow on the same wavelength. You know, like I don't know if it because of what they're hearing or and I said that to my friend. I said, you know, that's not true. The tariffs are hurting businesses. You know, you're not a steel worker or a farmer or a coal miner that never got their job. I mean, you know, the economy, I said, what are they rating that on? Just the stock market? Is that literally our only gauge of, you know, like, how's America doing? You know, how's the stock market? That's how I feel like that's what it's boiled down to, which is the saddest thing I can think of, right? And so, yeah, she was coming from her demographic, which is wealthy, and she's having a hard time having any kind of like a meaningful conversation about anything because everything's great from their perspective. Couldn't be better.
Wow, that's stunning, because while all the big numbers are that the economy is growing, all the reality in terms of people being able to afford to pay for mortgages and healthcare and college educations and cars and vacations and et cetera is becoming harder and harder and harder. And the generation that's in their 30s and 40s right now are generally not doing as well as their parents did. And the whole, you know, original idea or the story sold to us was we would always do better than our parents. You know, each generation would do better. And that certainly is no longer true. And at the same time, we are destroying the earth and sacrificing trillions when you include sea creatures, trillions of lives in the name of making money. I mean, it's just ludicrously stupid.
Right. And I think it's interesting that you are stunned to hear that, Anne. And I think this comes back to the point of talking outside of our community and because we all see things very much the same. So we preach to the choir. We're a think tank, which is great because I learn tons whenever I talk to you all. But that's why I was so glad to have that conversation with her, because I rarely ever see her, right? And we had coffee, and just to hear that perspective, it's true. A lot of people are pretty happy regardless of what everything else is going on, as long as they're comfortable, and then the media is feeding it to you, then they're just going to believe it. I don't know.
Yeah, that's that general rule that all people that are comfortable in them successful, quote unquote successful, exceptional. They tend not to be that keen about changing the systems. I think we were talking about this a while ago that somebody was watching the Bill Gates' Brain series on Netflix, which I may still have a look at it, but there's a huge portion of our society that thinks that the billionaires are going to save us because money solves problems. Didn't you know that? But when you have the billionaires that became exceptional because of this capitalist system that exploits people and animals and the environment that just turns everything into cash. How do you monetize things? That is basically what our system is based on. To borrow from the anti-racism movement, you can't dismantle the master's house using the master's tools. Sailesh talks about that in his books too.
Well, that's the same concept, that the same thinking that created the problems will not solve the problems. We have to have a different way of thinking about that, about whatever it is, in order to solve the problem, because it's just not going to work in any other way.
And in my conversation with her, I had the thought that I never hear anybody talk about the deficit anymore. Like, it's as if we do not care that we have a $896 billion deficit and one already projected for 2020, which is only $4 billion less than. What is that? That's crazy to me. Like, that is how I take a temperature of a country. I mean, I'm just like a normal human being, but you know, I think that's really sad. Have you guys ever heard anybody in the last year or two talk about the deficit? I mean, that's.
Other than there's an audit of the Pentagon came up $21 trillion short, and that money could be spent wisely elsewhere, say on the deficit. $21 trillion. And it's not in the mainstream news. Isn't that interesting?
So,
sorry.
Ahead. No, go ahead.
It was kind of a change of topic anyway. I was going to say the system that's believes so much in money thinks that the money that we don't have enough money to change the system that is otherwise making money. So billionaires are the ones with money. That's why they're the ones that are going to be able to change the system, and the government is the system. So I think that frustrates people and thinks that they have no personal power. But I was trying to look up the exact words of the Margaret Mead quote. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, is the only thing that ever has. So that's something to ruminate on, that all these different movements that have brought us to where we are started with a few people. It didn't start with, the billionaires, the Rockefellers, the people that were writing the books on the economy. Our systems are made up of people, and people that become part of a story that carries on. I think we can all agree that Sailesh is one of those people that are leading a story right now.
And I think that quote, Margaret Mead's quote, that never doubt that a small dedicated group of people can change the world. Indeed, that is all that ever has, is a fabulous quote to think about the few that are a part of this call and our ability to include, invite, welcome other people into this movement and have some sort of impact. And, maybe we will be successful and maybe we won't. I'm going to believe that we are going to be successful. and that the money doesn't matter, that we're gonna, I mean, our previous call was about, creating a world without money. Well, part of it was about that. But that is not the most important thing. And that we're gonna figure it out. It's complex. It's not even complicated. It's complex. It's many layered. It's a spider web. It's I don't know what the word is that describes how intricate it is and how many layered and how deep and broad it is. And yet I have to believe that we are going to be able to figure it out. And the SAVE movement and Sailesh's white paper and Will Tuttle's A World Peace Diet and Suzanne's, I don't know the title of your book, so I can't say it. All of these things are going to have an impact. And us coming together and having these conversations about what we believe and about where we are and figuring out what we really think. I mean, our previous call, got me to thinking about some things I hadn't really thought in depth about. And tonight again, there's more things to think in depth about. And hopefully we will actually continue thinking and figure some of this out. And I'm going to believe that we're going to do it. So I'm really looking forward, Ray, to your organizing the groups and figuring out how it is that we figure out how to move forward with each of these things. And I'm just really grateful to this group of people to having this conversation and coming back week after week and believing that if we stick with it, we are going to have a positive impact on this world. And we're going to save a whole bunch of animals and insects and fishes and people too.
That was beautiful, Anne.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that.
And sorry, before you mute us, I want to volunteer to Ray, whatever help you need. So we'll fill out the survey. I'm kind of leaning towards wanting to check every group too, but we can talk about that. And then if you want help, coordinating people or reaching out to groups to start things up, I'm available for that.
I can add you to every group, and then you can have eyes into each one.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think I would be in the same boat. And then if we want to try to get together again outside of this meeting to kind of go over survey results, I don't know if that's an appropriate thing to do during this meeting, or if everyone wants to, we can totally do it all together. That's also an option.
Did you see I made a pretty spreadsheet out of it? I created a spreadsheet and I adjusted the columns so that you can see it all at once.
Yeah, thank you.
I missed that, Ray, so I'll have to go back. I clearly need to learn Basecamp better, and I know you shared the info on how to do it, and I didn't do it yet. So I will figure out before next Tuesday how to understand Basecamp and use it in a way that makes sense. So I'll look for that.
Me too, Anne. Don't feel bad.
I think the best advice is to just use your email browser as your portal. You'll get your notifications that are hopefully relevant to you, or you can read them and edit if they're relevant to you. And there's a little hyperlink on there somewhere that says respond in Basecamp. And that will bring you into the Basecamp software. It'll open up your browser to the Basecamp software, to the page that's relevant to what's being discussed. And hopefully from there it's clear within Basecamp, because you'll see your group and there's a schedule and there's a to-do list and there's a bulletin board and a campfire where you can just chat about, in the news today, I saw this relevant thing. Let's talk about that. So it's a place where some of the conversation can happen. And you might be able to get by just by looking at the comments in your email browser, but at some point somebody was having trouble trying to do exactly that, and I said you're probably better off clicking on the go to Basecamp, and then you'll see the chronology of previous comments that led to that comment, right? In the case of a conversation. But play with it. There's not much you can break.
Oh, cool. That's good to know. That's really good to know. You go screw around and you're not going to break anything. You're just going to move around in there. That will be good.
Worst case scenario, you end up sending a message to all of us.
Emailing a bunch of vegans. So.
Yeah, cool. Okay.
Yeah, keep the trash talk to a minimum until you know what you're exactly is going to see it.
I feel like you're talking directly to me, Benjamin, because I'm always like, I don't know who this is going to, but hey.
No, I love it. I love every message I get in my inbox about this. It's really funny because my inbox has just exploded since joining the Basecamp, but I don't mind at all because it's all great stuff.
You're not one of those people that has to read every email and delete it afterwards and purge yourself of having a clean inbox. I have a few inboxes that are in the thousands.
Oh, wow. Are we going on with the next part of the agenda, or do we have what I didn't know if we're moving on or what's going on? Because it's getting, for me, it's 8:15, which I don't care if we're on for 5 hours, but I am severely sleep deprived because I've been going back and forth from East Coast, West Coast, East Coast. And it's really, I can't even, and I've been moderating for Jane. So my eyes are really tired.
Yeah, it's 8:15 for me too, and
okay,
that's getting really close to the time that I need to. Otherwise, I'll start being very weird because it's just really late.
Yeah,
I get up.
Wrapping up. If
it gets dark at 5 o'clock, it's kind of sucky. We don't have the Arizona thing where they don't have that time zone thing. Or
Arizona
whatever,
has its own time zone. That talks a lot about our problem.
Trump zone. Yeah. I was there. My friend dad lives in Prescott.
Does anyone have any other agenda items that they want to discuss, or it's kind of seems like this is a natural stopping point too? That's all right with everybody.
Is there any groups that people need to sign up for?
I don't think I signed up for anything, but I thought I was already signed up for Vegactivist.
Maybe a quick question about if we know anymore.
What's Vegactivist?
What we did at Vegan World 2026. Remember, we broke out into the groups.
Mm-hmm.
And Doug is head of Vegactivist.
There wasn't one called Vegactivist, although.
Yeah, there was. Well, I mean, we actually met there.
Yeah, for sure.
It's one of the groups it was one of the groups on the survey.
For sure.
Is that a group that's still meeting? Like, do they have, after they met in person, did they start to meet in groups?
We have a Facebook message group, I believe. But Doug, I need to get with Doug because we're all mostly, we're all full-time activists, mostly all of it. I'm sure we are. Because is on there, Keegan. But anyway, I don't want to get off topic. But yeah, we need to figure out when are these groups going to be doing everything. I
added a Doug to, what's Doug's last name?
Fuller.
I think that was one of the first things that I did was so I should add Doug, and he is.
I remember because Doug requested, and I asked for Doug to be added. For that was like a while ago. He's on Basecamp. Yeah, you approved Doug.
But there's no
he's on Basecamp
group by that name, and maybe there needs to be.
Maybe
I think the group came before the big groups that were created. Sarah, I think you guys were doing that before they decided to do the study group breakouts like that.
Oh yeah. Because I remember when we broke out
on Basecamp, not so much at the conference, but at Basecamp, they have broken all the groups.
Well, I made a note. I made a note of the Vegactivist. I can't say that.
I mean, I didn't come up with that name, but it's like Vegan Activist blush together, So big activists, whatever.
We'll make sure that there is, at least if there isn't already a group that would fall under, then we'll add one to the survey.
There's no chance that that's the Illuminators group, is it?
I thought that there is a chance it got renamed to a different group as we were coming up with the description.
Yeah, whatever it is, we need to let Doug know because we're supposed to be like having a meeting with our group.
Yeah.
And we're trying to figure out when that's going to be and what we're going to do because we can all get together, all of us. And I'll be back on West Coast starting next Tuesday, like evening. But we already have a activist thing. So I might see Doug then. But
this is actually making a bit of sense because veg activists kind of suggest that it's not attacking a specific study group or task force. It's not specific. It's veg activists, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe it is the Illuminators group, which is by definition people who are sharing the message with the rest of the world.
I think
yeah.
It's a group
I think that is the group.
I thought
Doug is signed up for it. That's the only one he signed up for. That was my clue.
Okay, good. Okay, so I'm going to be on that group. I wasn't sure what to sign up for because I didn't see my group, per se, but I didn't want to be in too many groups either because I'm already, like when you're doing full-time activism already, it's just every single day. You never get a break, but which is fine. I'm fine with that.
And I put a link to the groups again in the
Oh, okay, great.
chat.
I'm going to click on that. Thank you
if
so
you
much.
want to look at it again, because I know that you
Is
don't
it the one where it says forms dot blah blah blah, all those
Yes.
letters? Okay.
Yes, and while you do that, Sarah, I want to let you know that I have a friend another friend that I met today, and she's on a keto diet, whatever. It's just
Keto, yeah.
It's like
The
completely
one that
off,
kills you.
of me. But she wanted to lose weight, whatever. And so I'm always still doing my vegan stuff. And then she just sent me this picture of, it looks like brandy. And then she got coconut milk and she texted, no dairy, no eggs, yum, very coconutty. So cute.
That's amazing.
So see?
Yeah, it's baby steps, and it's like, I mean, sometimes I do disruptions, and sometimes I'm super nice to people. I just lead by example.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
you just,
That's a
you
good way
have to lead
put
by
it.
example mostly all the time. But where is this? I don't see this Illuminators group on here.
I just added you to it, so see
thank
if it shows up.
Yeah, I see like changing job study group. I see veganic permaculture. I'm just not seeing
I just added it just at this very second, so refresh and see if you get it.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
I also added you to the speciesism education study group because I think that's most relevant to your activism, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Ray,
Okay.
I don't see the Illuminators group either.
Yeah. Not on the one that you put in, Carrie?
Yeah. I mean, if you,
Yeah, it's not on there.
Yeah, you're not on it, so I'll add it to you now. Carrie, your other ones are Vegan Collective Intelligence Group and the main Vegan World 2026. Were you wanting to be on any of the other groups? Or do you want to go back and fill the form again? Then
We're saying on the form.
so
can I jump in?
the only,
Sorry. I think, so the Illuminators are not on the form because the Illuminators are part of the team level structure, and we were using the form on the project level and I don't, I think what a team is and what a project is can be defined within the organization, but Illuminators was a level above what we were surveying. And I think initially Jessica worked with Silesh to create the Illuminators groups for the climate healers groups, like the local in-person ones. And then Vegan World 2026 happened and all these folks joined Basecamp, and now it's kind of a mess. So that's and
now there's a new group. Now there's a new group specifically for the climate vegan groups, climate healers groups.
Right. So we made them a separate, like a project now, so they can have their own space. And yeah, I don't know if it's fully sorted out yet, but that's what I understood Illuminators to be initially. And I don't know if that's helpful. Sorry, but
no, it's totally helpful. That's completely different than the groups. That's why it's not on the groups.
At one point, I was tempted to throw everybody into the Illuminators group But I don't know what came beforehand, whether they've got specific discussions that are going on that would, they get overwhelmed with a flood of new people, or maybe they want a flood of new people. I kind of got that impression that they did. So illuminators is, most people are going to be illuminators. Those other categories are a little bit more specific to your skill set and experience and outlook. So they're a little more specialist.
So Ray, I'm only a part of two things. So the group I want to be a part of is Unifying Vegan Study Group, and then whatever this is, which is, I think, is the collective intelligence for the vegan world or something.
Vegan Collective Intelligence Group?
Yes.
You're part of the Vegan World 2026, which is just the main lobby of everybody. Unifying Vegan Study Group and Illuminators?
I don't know if I'm an illuminator. I feel like I'm not at the same illumination level as Sarah.
You'll get notifications if they happen to do anything. You can participate or not.
All right.
That's a team, so it's not, you're not solving specific things. You're honing skills and comparing techniques of illumination.
Okay, cool.
Awesome.
Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yeah, you too.
Nancy, how long have you been in Brazil? Are you in Brazil?
I arrived on 2 weeks and a half ago.
So I introduced you as being from Toronto. Are you, you're from Brazil, previously in Toronto, but now back in Brazil?
Yes.
When you coming back?
Okay,
I
don't know, maybe summer, whenever it warms up.
Does Canada ever get warm enough for a Brazilian? Probably not.
The summer is pretty hot, but I don't know. Who knows? Maybe I will have, I don't know, a Vegan World 2026 conference in Brazil sometime and not go back.
Yeah, absolutely. You did sign up. You did sign up for the groups. Did you read the description of the Climate Healers group? So you want to try to form a group in Brazil?
That would be amazing. I'm just getting settled here now, so. But yeah, that would be great.
Under the files and media, or whatever it's called, there's a guide on how to set up a Climate Healers group.
Thank you. I'll take a look at it.
And thank you, Ray, for inviting Taki. It was really nice to meet you, and nice to have a new person in the group.
Yeah, thanks for jumping on last minute. I went on Facebook and said, "We're having a meeting now."
Thank you so much for the chance to be here, and it was really nice talking to you all and hearing all these new ideas. It's my pleasure.
And thank you to Benjamin and Suzanne for facilitating all day today. We really appreciate it, because this is both of these formats are very cool. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. I hope you did Jamin proud.
You did.
Well, it looks like Dharmendra got on right kind of as we were all wrapping up. I'm sorry, Dharmendra.
What? You're wrapping up?
We are all kind of trying to wrap up, yeah.
Oh, that's okay. I was kind of had a really long day today, so I wasn't even sure I was going to get on. So that just tells me it's fine. Go ahead.
Well,
wrapping up is okay. I still have to do the survey too. I just realized.
Yep.
Hi, everybody. Have a great Thanksgiving, and hopefully you speak up for animals every second that you can. We're about to go on a 27-hour fast for
the innocent turkeys.
All right.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Sarah,
Really-
for all your work that you do out there. Really appreciate
It's
it.
my pleasure. Yeah, always my pleasure. Yeah, until every animal's free and every cage is empty. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.